We have a nice turnout tonight. Thank you all for coming. Let's start by verifying our quorum. Andrea?
Director Doherty?
Here.
Director Cooney?
Here.
Director Medved?
Here.
Director Bill? President Van Vliet?
Here?
Hearing 5. Quorum met.
Thank you. Also, before we get started with our public officials, is there a motion to approve the minutes from our March meeting on March 3rd?
Motion.
Second.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed?
Hearing 5 in favor, motion carries.
Right. Fantastic. Well, we have the honor of having our Mayor Smith. So, Jeremy, please come forward and tell us how things are going in the city.
Board President, thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak. I'm going to be a little bit long-winded because I'm covering for Darcy too. So you can hear, but you can't ask questions. That's going to be the rule tonight. As promised, I wanted to give a little bit of an update of what took place last night at the county building. As most of you have probably heard, and most of your board president were there. And I think it's pretty incredible. Actually, it kind of gives me chills when I think about it because there was about 150 people at this meeting, and we had over 30 Canyon Lake, Meadowbrook folks that drove an hour on a Wednesday at 9 a.m. to show up to this planning commission meeting. And it really made me just think how incredible of a community we have. We have so many normal folks, aren't elected official, just normal people that are trying to do all they can to make sure that this project dies. So I want to start off by that because I think that's worth noting just how amazing Canyon Lakers truly are. With that, as most of you probably have heard, the city doubled down. And I say that because on the 5th hour, right before the meeting, we went ahead and put together a 300-page document that indicated several issues with the project, CEQA violations that we believe is going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to the applicant to see. We think the county should have required an environmental study on the project from the beginning. Luckily, as those of you that attended the meeting or watched online, you saw that the staff started by saying we recommend to the commission that we continue the item, which right off the get-go was exactly what we were trying to achieve on Wednesday. And that would not be possible without the hard work of the folks in Meadowbrook and, of course, our community here in Canyon Lake. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you to the three of you that showed. Thank you, Bill. I know you called me that morning. You wanted to be there. My council, most of us were there as well, and including a former councilwoman, Jennifer Dane, and so many people in the community. Some of them are here. We cannot do these things alone, and it just means a lot. So I printed a document for you so you can see what I gave to the Planning Commission on that Wednesday along with legal counsel in the county. So I just want the POA to have a hard copy. You can find it online as well. It's extremely boring, but extremely valuable. So that's my cemetery update. Couple questions I received on the project. It's going to take, I think it's going to take, I don't want to say this, but it's going to take a long time for them to go through that environmental study. It took 4 years for the applicant to get the meeting that they got last week. So that was without an environmental study. So now moving forward with all the requirements that we believe the county is going to ask, I don't know. I don't know if the project will even continue at that point because of the amount of money it will take to follow through with that. So that's the cemetery. If anyone has questions who are watching online or here in the audience, my cell phone's everywhere. Feel free to reach out, or anyone that was at the meeting. We're here to answer questions. Have a few updates. We're in budget review right now. We actually had a budget meeting in regards to the city proposed budget. I'm happy to report that it looks like our city manager is going to be bringing a balanced budget, which is a big deal for us. We're starting a police department, as most of you know. August 1st is our launch date. And I'm excited also to report that it looks like starting our own police department, because we are bringing code enforcement underneath the banner of our police station, we're going to save close to $400-ish thousand a year. So I think that service is going to be phenomenal. With that, caveat, it's going to save money for the city, but also I think we're going to get the service that Canyon Lake's expecting. Because of its budget season, our council meeting next week on Tuesday is going to be at 5:30 instead of 6:30. I've already let my clerk know that if any of our folks from the POA or the chamber or EVMWD can't make that time, I will allow for a 6:30 time for them to come in and give their report as usual. We'll just stop the meeting on where we're at, and you guys can come in and give your updates, so that way it doesn't impact the schedule of those that usually come to our council meeting. Coffee at the country club. Obviously, we were all at the planning commission meeting, so we had to, we're going to push it to next month. It's going to be the first Wednesday, so please keep that as on your calendar as usual. Looking forward to doing that next month. And let me give you the Darcy update. Splash into Spring is May 2nd, same day as the fire station open house. They went ahead and started a design packet for the Canyon Lake water treatment plant. She wants to give a big shout out to Bill Medved, along with Councilmember Terry and Welty, for attending the leadership program. I think you were at that, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm not missing anyone, so that's huge. And we're excited because at least what it's being told right now is Darcy is thinking that the alum treatment is not going to happen. So that's still up in the air. I don't want to put anything out there final, but it looks like no alum for this go around that we're used to, and we'll see what happens in the month of October-ish. So that's kind of the water update for Darcy. Y'all have any questions for me?
I do want to compliment the water district. It was, the class you referred to was a collection of leaders in the community, 2 city council members, myself from the POA, and a handful of other people. And it's quite interesting what these people do for the communities. The water treatment process is very complicated, a lot of moving pieces. This is public information. The Elsinore Water District is a $95 million a year budget just for District 1, which is Darcy's district. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and it was really compelling to understand a lot of the intricacies.
You know, it's I was thinking, I got a call from Lainey the other day, and she was talking about e-bikes, and I was thinking about all that we get to do together. I get to think about how, we have this relationship with EVMWD, we have this relationship with the POA and the city, and I say in full confidence, I think this is the first time, at least for me personally, where I have a relationship with each of you, and I talk to you on a regular basis, and I think that's how we're going to get real things done in Canyon Lake. So Bill, I think it's incredible that you're there, especially with some of the water issues that we're having. I think we need to diverse ourselves into more of these type of conversations. I know that it's e-bike season, and we're going to be having some serious conversations about that. It's important to be safe. I am so sick of children not wearing helmets and shoes when they're riding e-bikes. As a father of 3 girls, it drives me nuts. And I just encourage our residents, please get your bikes registered with the POA and just do good by it, right? There's going to be a lot of conversations coming into the summer months. And so I'm excited to hopefully partner with you guys on what we can do for public safety, especially with our new police department happening August 1st, which is on track. We just got to make sure we don't inundate the new chief too much. We got to give him a little bit of runway, and then maybe come Christmas, we can start nailing him with all the things that we want to do. But anyways, with that, I'll leave that as it is. And I just want to say thanks again. I appreciate your all's relationships and the hard work that we continue to do. And once again, just like I started our planning commission meeting last week, it is a thankless job that you all do. And you guys, should get the kudos that you deserve. So appreciate you.
Mayor, one thing I think is important, 2 things I think is important to recognize, that everybody who spoke at that meeting spoke with such respect, despite the fact that everybody had passion about it on both sides of it. But I think in those kinds of meetings, it can quickly, disintegrate into less than professional behavior. And it was, regardless of what side of the issue you stood on, it was nice to see the level of respect that was given to the conversations. And I think kudos to everybody in our community who stood up and spoke and represented our community in such, I think, a very powerful but respectful way.
For me, it was those of you who watched, we had several Canyon Lakers who came up to me. I stood in the back of the room, and they were so nervous to speak, and they were so worried about saying the wrong thing. And then when they got up to that microphone and they spoke from their heart, it was incredible to see the passion on both sides. And I think we did a good job of not overdoing it. And I just want to commend the residents for being level-headed, because it is very sensitive. When you really think about it, it is sensitive, property values, all that stuff. But you're so right, Lainey. We did such a good job as a team, so I thought it was good.
And then I think the second thing, kudos to Jeff Bill for being behind so much.
And wearing a suit. This guy wore a
I
suit.
did.
You see that?
And-
He shows up in a tie. I'm like, what are we doing?
But all joking aside, like he's the perfect person to be heading so much of this initiative up. And I don't think we would have got to where we were if it wasn't Jeff and Ron Wilbur and Terry Jarvis behind him, but Jeff really heading that effort up. I think a lot of gratitude goes to Jeff.
And the work that you guys are doing, Lake Elsinore reached out to me too, and they also submitted a letter of questions, concerns, and issues they've had on the project. So I think more municipalities are going to start getting on board with what we submitted to the county because it is a pretty binding legal document. But that's all because we're all out there speaking at city council meetings and letting people know what's happening. So kudos to us, if we can say that. So anyways, I'll leave it at that.
Mayor Smith, thank you as always for your leadership and for taking the time to reach out and spend a little time with us to update us on things. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
Oh, and Jeff wants to add something.
Just so everybody knows, yes, they led the charge and there were other organizations involved. This is a concerted effort by, I think we had 5 different groups,
Yeah.
Jeremy? 5 different groups, 4 of which I know submitted paperwork. So we are not going to let this die. It will be quiet for a while. People are going to have a lot of questions. Our group, which is at saveourlakes.net, we'll be having a meeting coming up in the next week or 2 so that we can just convey some more information, and we'll be doing it within the gates so that everyone can make it easily. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. We appreciate you. All right, we are going next. Director Bill is going to present our member of the month.
Well, I have to say, I'm very honored to be able to present this award for Member of the Month to our own Monica Lyons, who's hiding in the back of the room there. Little background on Monica is Monica and her family resided in LA County, where she pursued her commitment to community service at a hospital in Inglewood. But having kids, living in a certain environment, they made their way to other areas and landed in Canyon Lake. And that was kind of a temporary stopgap, and then they found out that they liked it here. So this is a great place for their kids. In 2019, Monica, along with her husband Troy, who's also back there hiding with her, and their 2 children moved to their home here in Canyon Lake. As I said, their plan was to stay only temporarily so they could decide the next steps for a permanent location. Almost immediately, she connected with her neighbors and began actively involving herself in the community. Later that year, Monica and her husband, sorry, I lose my place a lot, so you got to bear with me. Monica and her husband made Canyon Lake their forever home. And when she was asked why she decided to stay, she said the community. And when she first moved here, she began to make a positive impact on our community during the COVID-19 pandemic, where she volunteered with the Canyon Lake Club Family Matters. Together, they identified residents, primarily the elderly, who needed a little sunshine during that time of darkness and loneliness. The aptly named You Got Flocked campaign began with the placement of pink flamingos in front yards, followed by periodic check-ins and offers to help with simple tasks such as yard work and grocery shopping. Even after COVID, Monica continued to check in with many of those residents long after the pandemic just to make sure they were okay, and she still does that to this day. Before moving forward, it's important to note that since making Canyon Lake their permanent home, Monica and her husband have opened 4 successful businesses here: Yard Fresh Pet Waste Management, Lions Den Spa, Lions Building Company, and they've opened up another one with their son, Lions Rod and Restoration. What makes this especially noteworthy is that they have leveraged each of these businesses not only to serve their clients, but to support local and regional nonprofits and individuals. Following are just a few examples. I don't know if many of you remember the City of Canyon Lake Turkey Drive. Monica was instrumental in that. It was in conjunction with the Helping Hands Group, an all-volunteer community service organization. They serve Canyon Lake and the surrounding community. Their focus is in serving low-income disabled seniors and families in crisis. More than 350 volunteers home deliver food to the homes of more than 500 shut-in and disabled seniors. Monica Lyons serves as our resident spokesperson for this Turkey Drive event every year. The year prior to Monica's involvement in the Turkey Drive, they only got 16 turkeys, and that was in 23. In 24, with Monica pushing that, she got 108 families to receive turkeys. In 2025, she kept working and she got 376 turkeys donated to those families. I can tell you from a personal note, they didn't have the freezer space for all the turkeys. They had to get volunteers to store the turkeys. She's also made it known that her goal for this year is 500. So keep that in mind, guys, as we get closer to the holidays. So the Helping Hands organization that she works with is also going to be looking for some more freezers. So if you got an extra freezer around, reach out to Monica and let her know you're willing to donate one. In addition to that, she was involved with the Canyon Lake Pet Blanket Drive for Animal Friends of the Valley. They're dedicated to promoting humane care of animals through education and humane proactive animal service programs, another nonprofit here locally. Without Monica Lyons, there would not be a City of Canyon Lake Pet Blanket Drive. In 22, she raised 190 blankets. In 23, she got 360. In 24, she got 1,060. This last year, she got 2,100 blankets, along with other donations of food and other things that are needed at the animal shelter. She also collects pet toys and stuff for them as well, and beds. The other place where she helps out, as many of you have probably heard of, is Michelle's Place, the Cancer Resource Center. Michelle's Place was started in 2001 to honor Michelle Watson, fulfill her wish of creating a place of comfort and support for people fighting cancer. Monica's company, Yard Fresh Pet Waste Management and Lions Building Company, provide free yard maintenance and handyman services to Michelle's Place families battling cancer for the entire duration of their treatment. Another area where she volunteers is the women's shelters in the local area. They offer a caring and supporting environment. These shelters are for women and children, some of them spread across the country. And using her other business, Lions Den Spa, all of those in attendance at the upcoming one-year anniversary who provide clothing and other items for women and children will receive discounts for the services provided. Man, this is a long list, Bill. It's, another one that she works with is Habitat for Humanity. Monica's company, Yard Fresh Pet Waste Management and Lions Building Company, provide free yard maintenance and handyman services to Habitat for Humanity families when they request it and there's a need that they recognize. I'm going to skip some of this or this will take up the whole meeting. You need to slow down, Monica. So even though MMR Property Management is no longer in business, Yard Fresh, Pet Waste, and Lions Building Company have continued to provide free yard maintenance and handyman services to the elderly and disabled residents previously served by this company. Other areas that she takes care of in 2025, Yard Fresh Pet Waste Management recruited 20 volunteers to pick up trash along the local creeks and trails. They also sponsored the volunteer breakfast and recruited 10 volunteers to perform beautification projects throughout the area. And last but not least, she works with MilVet. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to connecting deployed troops, veterans, and their families with the resources they need when they come back and to help them get back and readjust with their lives. Yard Fresh Pet Waste Management employs veterans through its partnership with MilVet. Also, on a personal note, last year, there was an event that I needed some help with. Who else did I call? I called Monica. She stepped up, helped me out so we can bring everything together. So in conclusion, Monica Lyons has become a cornerstone of compassion and service in our community. Her remarkable journey from overcoming life-altering events to become a tireless advocate for those in need is both inspiring and deeply moving. Through her volunteer leadership, record-breaking community drives, and the generous support of her business to local nonprofits, Monica has created a legacy of kindness that continues to positively impact hundreds of lives each year. It's my esteemed pleasure and honor to nominate Canyon Lake resident Monica Lyons for our Member of the Month. In case you guys are wondering, these are the two volunteers she beats on the most. Let's see how everybody can Please stand next to me, because I like doing short. Oh, you're okay. It's a new feeling for me. Yeah.
Thanks for guys getting
Yeah, I cut out a few.
Boy, I feel so inadequate after listening to all the accomplishments. All right.
Paragraphs in the interest of time.
Yeah, no, thank you. Again, congratulations, Monica. Thank you so much for all you do to Canyon Lake. It's also our pleasure tonight to present for the Patriotic Quilters the quilt to a veteran. So the Patriotic Quilters have nominated Court Ofstad to be a recipient of the Patriotic Quilt honoring his service in the U.S. Army. Court is a native Californian. He grew up in Van Nuys, California with his family consisting of his mom and dad, 2 older sisters, and a twin brother. After graduating from Grant High School, he had a job and attended college. In 1968, he was drafted into the U.S. Army. I'm curious what your draft number was, Court. After completing basic training at Fort Ord, California, he received additional training as a radio teletype operator at Fort Gordon, Georgia. After completion of the radio teletype training, he received orders to Vietnam to be part of the 196th Light Infantry Brigade of the American Division. He spent 11 months and 11 days in Vietnam. But who is counting? After spending 2 years in the Army, he decided to return to college at Cal State Northridge. And in 1974, he earned a bachelor's degree in accounting and finance. He started his career with Litton Industries, corporate offices in Beverly Hills, as a financial analyst. He later took a job with Aztec America, where he worked until he retired in 2016 as the director of finance. Court and Linda were married in 1978, where he received an additional bonus, instant family, with the addition of a 14-year-old son, Patrick, from Linda's previous marriage. They added a daughter, Mandy, and adopted son, Peter, to complete their family. They have 3 fantastic grandchildren, Macy, Caden, and McKenna, and they have enjoyed living in Canyon Lake. So tonight it is our pleasure, Court, if you'd please join us, to honor and the Quilters, honor and salute and support Court with the Patriotic Quilt.
You know, this is gonna be on the 11 o'clock news.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Isn't it gorgeous? Yeah.
Back to being.
Yeah. You know, it is so nice to be able to honor our veterans, but also I really want to thank the patriotic quilters. They meet every week and they are out there quilting. And if you didn't get a chance to see it up close, it is absolutely a work of art. And what a great thing. So thank you so much, Kathy and the quilters. Rhonda. All right, let's go from that to community patrol.
Good evening. Tonight, let's talk about February 2026 and the Community Patrol Report. First, I'd like to go ahead and talk about, we went ahead and did a lot of different complaints that we had coming in. We went ahead and took a different look into them. So a lot of categories went ahead and increased in different things, and you saw categories decrease in other places. The first biggest increase you would see is over there at the stop signs. We had 238 stop signs issued, but I would also like to take a moment to point out that we had opportunities for patrol officers to find and identify 7 different times riders were doing wheelies through the streets or reckless driving. We had 7 times that riders were found in areas that they're not allowed, and 15 times where riders were found without proper registration and they were found to be residents of the community. I would also like to take a moment to just kind of bring up to everybody that dispatchers have been calling families when we have minors who don't have ID in their possession, they don't have their school ID, and they're saying that they live at a particular household. In the past, what we've discovered is several of those minors would be telling people, I live at my friend's house over there, or I live at this house over there. We call that household and they say, that's not my child. That's not my child's friend. And they're not the ones who really want that citation. So they end up telling us where that child actually belongs within this community. And at that point, we were able to issue a proper citation. So when the dispatchers are calling you, it's not saying you're going to get a citation. We're just a lot of times trying to get everybody on the same page, figure out information, and address the incident appropriately. Ken?
And to go with more of the courtesy calls, you're right. We've done more to inform and communicate beforehand. Sometimes the citation is a surprise. Sometimes the citation is avoidable. And if your phone numbers are up to date in the North Star system and Go Access, that helps them be able to reach out to you to ask you a question, because maybe your guest didn't have their ID or if there was some other issue. We'd love to be able to call you and resolve it as soon as possible, but we need to call you, because if someone calls us, we don't know who's calling us, and we don't want to be having somebody trick their way into the community. So, excuse me, that's one of the reasons why we do the courtesy calls. It's a service piece that we want to expand more on, because really the whole purpose is to keep people from coming into the community that don't belong and help those that are supposed to be here get in as soon as possible. But that's a great topic. So let's talk about spring is in the air, right? We're all opening our garages and looking inside and going, what do I want to keep? What do I want to play with? What do I want to sell and replace with something better? Now, when we do that, keep in mind that some of the toys that some of our members have can't be ridden or driven on our public roads. So when you have that buyer come to test drive that piece of machinery, you may want to, in fact, it's a really good idea if you take them to the parking lot across the street or out in the dirt outside the north gate. Please don't allow them to test drive it in the community, because I promise you, your neighbor's going to call Community Patrol is going to go out and they're going to write the citation. And those citations are pricey because there's a CCNR violation. So this is something that came up in appeals and we talked about it. And it's like, it's a good topic to bring up. It's just, don't allow anybody to play with your toys where they're not supposed to play with any toys. Another piece of e-bike news, April 25th is going to be this year's bike safety fair. We have city agencies that are going to join us out there. We're going to have the Community Patrol and the SAC members are going to be out in full force to teach the kids how to put on their helmets, how to do different obstacles. One of the best things from last year was the dads that were out riding with their kids and doing the slow race on who could go the slowest without falling and all the things we want to teach the kids. And so, yay, e-bikes are in season. And the Surons and the Talarias are still banned. And we're starting to see this. Zach and I were at the country club and saw some motorcycles come through the golf course, and we took an opportunity to go see where they went, and we were successful. So we're looking at those two. I know there's a frustration, and we are chipping away at it. The numbers are going down slightly, but they are going down with the e-bikes, and we're making some progress. And I can promise you that there's been a lot of time with the POA management and the board of directors brainstorming what to do that's best for the community to get the kids a good place to ride safely, as well as protect the assets of the community. So thank you very much.
I'm going to piggyback on that. I'm going to be very direct. The e-bike situation in Canyon Lake is no longer a nuisance. It is a real and escalating safety problem. Over the past year, we've implemented registration, education, and escalating fines. And while intended, these efforts have not been sufficient. We are seeing reckless behavior, property damage, dangerous close calls, and our own residents are telling us they feel anxious simply driving through their own community, and summer hasn't even begun. We cannot and will not allow this to continue. We see, despite this, we see kids with no helmets, no registration, no shoes, piggybacking, and patrol cannot be everywhere. It just is not the only solution. We banned motorcycles decades ago. We raised the driving age from golf carts from 12 to 16. Yes, I was here when that happened. And yet today we have e-bikes going faster with far less protection and far less oversight. I've worked with individuals personally in my previous career, suffering neurological damage from close head injuries, and the impact is real. It is long-term, and it is often financially devastating. As Mayor Smith noted earlier, I've asked to work jointly with the City Council to explore every possible intervention, especially with the new police force coming online in August. I don't mean August 1st. We will work together and explore all opportunities. If stronger enforcement, age limits, or even a ban is required, we will look at those steps. To parents, this requires more than conversations. Have your child sign a contract. Pick a definitive punishment for an infraction. A second, the bike is gone. Because simply saying be careful is like spitting in the wind. We will not allow this situation to continue. Safety comes first, full stop. Thank you.
Again, on the e-bike safety fair, time and place. You gave us a date. I need the rest of it.
Sierra Park, 10 a.m. We're doing it in the community this time, and we're going to be our own standalone event. Thank you for reminding me.
If I can ask a question, motorcycles, we have recently improved the motorcycle facility, storage facility at the main gate, parking facility at the main gate. We have signs up that say you're only allowed to park in those areas. However, I have noticed at the senior center today, when I was attending the senior work group, there were 8 motorcycles that continue to park outside because it's been habit. What is our tolerance with respect to parking outside of the approved motorcycle parking areas?
members are supposed to park their motorcycles within the gated areas. The downside is community patrol cannot designate between a member motorcycle and a guest motorcycle. So I think they're err on the side of caution as to not write a citation for a guest who would never park in there in the first place. However, what we can do is start a process where they chalk the tires and they mark and see how long they're there. And if they're for a long enough time, then they'll get the citation and has to be moved inside.
Well, I will tell you from personal experience, some of those motorcycles are there all the time and don't move. And so I think, and the reason is that that takes up the parking in the for all the activities at the senior center, which is fairly busy. We have a lot of other events. We had Supervisor Spiegel there yesterday, or her staff there yesterday, and again, we went to the expense and effort of creating a dedicated facility. There is no charge for that facility. And so we are asking people to follow through. And if we don't, there should be a consequence as well. Anything else for Ken or Zach? Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right, Andre, are there any speakers that would wish to speak on non-agenda items?
We do not have any member comments.
All right. Well, with that, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A and B?
Motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, which is the monthly financial statement and report of executive actions, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hearing 5 in favor, motion carries.
All right. Well, with that, Tiffany, you're going to have the floor for a while. Come on up.
Good evening. And like you said, you're going to be with me for a minute. So first up is 8.1. I'm presenting a revision to the Sanction Club and Activity Group policy. It builds on prior updates approved by the board and focuses on improving clarity and consistency for our resident-led groups. The primary update I'm presenting is the establishment of a cap of 25 members for activity groups. This is to help better distinguish activity groups from sanctioned clubs based on size and structure, and that change is reflected across multiple sections in this policy. There's also an additional update to clarify the annual reapplication requirement, including expectations around timing and what happens if the deadline is missed. The revisions create a more structured and consistent framework for how groups are classified and managed within the community. There is no fiscal impact to this policy change, and it is proposed that the board approve the resolution to this policy.
Thank you, Tiffany. Is there a motion to approve this rule?
Motion.
Second.
All right. Have first and second. Are there any member comments or questions regarding this item, group and sanctioned activity groups and sanctioned clubs? No member comments. Any board member comments? I'll just add a clarification. And the reason this item came up for a 28-day read last month and is voting for approval this month is there was some confusion as to why do we allow a difference between an activity group and a sanctioned club? And Tiffany, can you clarify for us kind of the philosophy is what an activity group and sanctioned club are?
Sure. The general idea is that an activity group is a smaller group or possibly an emergent group that doesn't have a lot of the structure or even requirements that a club might need in regards to the facilities they would want to use or the resources that they would want to use. And so the idea is that these activity groups are a little bit smaller. They might need some of our spaces every once in a while, but they're not going to be utilizing our spaces at the same capacity as our sanctioned clubs, who we require to have certain reciprocity requirements. The activity groups, we're telling them you can use our spaces, but you don't have to meet the same reciprocity requirements.
Tiffany, it's also true, though, that the philosophical premise behind this was that it often was a group that was emerging and just kind of checking out whether they really had the desire and the fortitude to become a full-fledged club.
Accurate. But we didn't, when we did this resanctioning, we didn't have any clubs come in as an activity group that were just emerging. We've had clubs that we've sanctioned that I think were emerging, but they met the requirements to be a sanctioned club, so they just came in that way.
And so this applies, so if you've been a club for a number of years, or you've grown to a large size, and a large size is now we're defining as over 25 members. And then we have some people, some groups that are hundreds of people, that they need to go through the same process of all sanctioned clubs in order to get equitable treatment of the same access to facilities. So, okay. With that clarification, all in favor of approving item 8.1, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed?
Hearing five in favor, motion carries.
I will add one point. So again, for clarity, there are two groups that will be impacted by this. One is co-ed softball, the other is family golf. And what we require then is for the next year, they will need to go through the process of becoming sanctioned. Is that correct?
That's correct. They won't be impacted this year. They'll be impacted next year.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Next up, are you guys ready for the next one?
Is that
Okay.
it?
So this one is a revision to Golf Course Rule 9.2. It's an extension of the 28-day reading that was presented last month. Currently, the rule allows guests to play without the hosting member being present, which is not consistent with how our guests access our other amenities. This revision requires that the reservations
The
be made
family
by the
club
hosting
just
member
got
and that
tanked.
guests
I
be
just heard
accompanied
it.
by that member, with an exception of the outside annual golf members. It brings consistency across our amenities while maintaining operational flexibility when needed. There is no direct fiscal impact, and it's proposed that the board approve the revision to Golf Course 9.2 as presented.
I would like to add something. Yeah, okay.
So is there a motion to approve this item?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, before we add, let's ask any questions from the audience or members. No questions or comments? Okay, Bill, go ahead.
Sorry, I jumped the gun there.
I want to give a little background to this. This was something that came up after we discussed this with many of our golf members within the community. Part of the rationale for this was we heard the feedback that a lot of what would happen is a member would call in 3 or 4 of their friends and they would play golf without them in being in attendance. There's a couple of issues with that is that they were taking up prime tee times over the weekend. We did some research. We felt compelled to respond to that feedback. There's an additional aspect of this around liability. If 3 or 4 people who aren't members of the community are out on the golf course, that prime member is still responsible for those 3 or 4 members, but we wanted to tighten that up a little bit.
Thank you, Bill. Any other comments? All in favor of approving this rule, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed?
Hearing five in favor, motion carries.
Okay, this next item is a revision to General Rule 2.4E regarding unreasonable disturbances from dog barking. This is another extension of a 28-day reading presented last month. The current rule includes a detailed procedural language outlining how patrol must investigate complaints. In practice, that level of detail has created challenges with enforcement, particularly with modern day equipment that members may be using to capture this information. The recommendation is to remove the procedural investigation language and retain the core standard that dogs may not habitually create noise that unreasonably disturbs the peace. This allows for more consistent enforcement while addressing the issue that the rule is intended to regulate. There's no direct fiscal impact. It's proposed that the board approve this rule revision as presented.
Thank you, Tiffany. Is there a motion to approve this rule revision?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any member comments or questions? Any board comments or questions? Yeah, I think just again, I'll offer a clarification. This is not to say dogs can't bark. It's not to say that this is just changing the approach and how they are addressed when we get a complaint regarding it, correct?
Yes, correct.
Perfect. All in favor of approving no unreasonable disturbance, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Hearing five in favor, motion carries.
Okay, last one, guys. So this final item is a revision to the restaurant facility section. It's another extension of a 28-day reading. This is a section that the Rules and Regulations Review Committee has identified and they've identified the rules that contain duplicative content, internal procedures, and inconsistencies that make it difficult to follow and enforce. The proposed revision focuses on simplifying and restructuring the section by removing redundant and procedural language, consolidating dress code requirements, and improving overall organization and clarity. There's no direct fiscal impact, and it is proposed that the Board of Directors approve the rule revisions to the restaurant facilities as presented.
Thank you, Tiffany. Is there a motion to approve this rule?
Motion?
Second.
All right. Any comments or questions from the community? Board member comments?
I just want to clarify a little bit here that the Rules and Regulations Committee has been simplifying, consolidating rules for the past, what, year and a half now? 2 years?
I think almost 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't count past 2 some nights. This is just a simplification and consolidation of existing rules. And the reason I wanted to say this is because it talks about the restaurant facilities and a lot of people react to that. But just for clarity, this is only a consolidation. We're trying to take a 1,000,000-page rule book down to something a little bit more tolerable. So that's all I had.
All in favor of approving the new rule on restaurant facilities, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Hearing 5 in favor, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Steve, let's talk about golf.
Good evening, everybody. I have some requests for reserve funding for the golf course bunker project. The bunkers on the golf course need refurbishment. A golf course bunker is a sand-filled hazard placed around the golf course, often near greens or fairways, to make shots more difficult and to test golfer skills. The last time our bunkers were refurbished at a golf course was 2017. The golf course bunker sand typically has a useful life of 5 to 7 years before requiring replacement, while drainage pipe and reshaping bunkers is usually done 5 to 10 years. This project will include new sand, drainage, reshaping 36 bunkers, 6 bunkers to be removed, 1 bunker will be added. Our lowest bidder agreed to do a test bunker, which was reviewed by the Green Committee. The Green Committee has recommended that we move forward with the project. Fiscal impact is $286,464 plus a 5% contingency from our reserve fund 026700. Staff requests the Board of Directors approve the funding of $286,464 plus 5% contingency from the stated reserve fund 026700 for this golf course bunker project.
Thank you, Steve. I will make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any member comments or questions? All right, any board comments or questions?
I just wanted to point out that when the FPC looked into this, it's been a while, might be 1, 2, or 3 years, the price was much higher. Steve has done a great job of getting this down. It was, I think we were north of 500,000 originally.
So the original project, we did do some value engineering. One was the Green Committee did some work and they visited local courses that had liners in them, because that was one of the suggestions, to put liners in, which raises the cost quite a bit. So the Green Committee did the footwork. They went out and they played these different courses. They talked to the pros, they talked to the grounds crews and the maintenance crews, and it decided that would not be a good fit for our course. Another thing is, yeah, we did work with our vendors and tried to value engineer and get a little bit more money out of it.
Thanks, Steve, and I appreciate all the work you put into this, because like I said, I did see this with the Facilities Committee and Green Committees, and I know you guys worked hard on getting this price down.
Yeah, as the liaison for the golf committees, this is the top request from all our golfers, has been for several years. And I know we put it off as a board for a couple of years to constrain, to manage our funding a little bit better and build our reserves. Great job in getting the cost down. I do want to thank the Green Committee for their work that they did in proposing this, and they really were very helpful in scoping the work and getting it defined and evaluating different types of sand and such. Also, the fact that the vendor was able to do a test bunker. I know the Green Committee and a number of the golf clubs went out and tested it, and they are thrilled with it. So thank you to everyone who brought it to this point. With that, let's do a roll call for approval for funding.
Director Doherty,
Aye.
Director Cooney,
Aye.
Director Medved,
Aye.
Director Bill,
Aye.
President Van Vliet.
Aye.
Hearing 5, motion carries.
Thank you, Steve. All right, Lake Advisory Committee.
So there are currently two positions open on the Lake Advisory Committee. Richard Waymuller, excuse me, and David Lester have been selected to fill these positions by the committee. It is recommended the Board of Directors approve the appointments listed above to the Lake Advocacy Committee contingent upon execution of a confidentiality effective immediately.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
I'll second it. Any member comments or questions? Board comments or questions? No? All in favor of approving the appointments, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Hearing 5 in favor, motion carries.
Thank you, Steve. All right, we'll do our Board Liaison Committee reports. Greg, do you have anything to report other than Australia or wherever you were in the world?
I do. Actually, they've been very busy in my absence, but really the rec committee is kind of on fire. They're working now on 3 small projects for improvements in the community. I'm not comfortable telling you what they are right now because they're still in process, and they all 3 will require board approval because they're going to require some funds to be allocated. So I'm confident they'll all go through, but time will tell. The committee is now working a lot more, as I think I said last time I was up here, that working with Tiffany Cribbs and her department with kind of supplementing their activities. That's a double word. And they're helping in discussions with supporting kids' summer camps, teen activities, swim lessons, and fun runs and races and things like that. The last meeting that they had the great honor of nominating Doug Schultz for the Grand Marshal of the Fiesta Day Parade. A fantastic selection. And I think that's about it. But the committee is very busy. We have no vacancies. And if I'm not mistaken, we have one person at least waiting in the wings to get on the committee. So Recreation Committee, like I said, is on fire. Thanks.
Thanks, Greg, and welcome back.
Thank you.
We missed you. All right, Lainey.
So I am the board liaison, as we know, for the Appeals Committee. First, just an incredible thank you to both the committee itself for their dedication and commitment to this committee. The second is to the residents. This last week was a 6-hour meeting. And to those of you at home and to those of you here, if you were sitting in that meeting, it does not escape our attention that we need to make some changes. Not in a position tonight. We haven't had time to go back to the committee and discuss these, but it is not our intention to have people wait 3.5 hours to be heard. So apologies for that. And we will work together to come up with a better solution than we currently have. Having said that, a lot of that has been driven by the appeals and conversations and dialogue around stop sign violations. The board took it under discussion today, and in the appropriate time frame that requires us to take action, we will be bringing that forward to the community. It also has not gone unnoticed or unheard by us. I'm the board liaison to rules and regulations, and you can just tell how busy we are as Tiffany just ran through it, but it's amazing, you know, when you sit with the committee and you realize how like things just go on. And we laughed a lot about, I don't know if it was Daisy Duke shorts that weren't allowed or something like this, and just the phraseologies that need to get changed out in some of these rules. And the committee, they take the work seriously and they dive in, and they're really they don't just fly through it. They really apply a level of earnesty and dedication to going through and making it very user friendly. And so just a continuing work. We've asked them to dig into a couple new sections that we'll be bringing forward in the next board meeting or two. And the equestrian work group is finishing up. I believe, Steve, the footing and everything is either done or complete, close to being done.
Correct. The footing was finished up in the month of March.
Okay, thank you. And they are moving forward to identifying the next beautification. And they're also working really hard to develop a broader network of people that will be willing to be involved in some of the maintenance and beautification projects. So if anybody in the audience at home has a few extra hours, whether it's every week or once a month or once a quarter, please reach out to Rick, the president of the work group, because they would greatly, greatly appreciate any and all help. That's it for me.
Thanks, Laney. I have some people who are interested, and that is our members of our Tuesday work group. They do a tremendous amount of work for our golf course. In fact, in the last month, they donated, they gave 1,400 hours of man hours in just the month of March. In terms of they pour sidewalks. They've been repairing bridges. They've been cutting back brush. They're forever cutting down, pruning trees and so forth. And they are very interested in helping the equestrian working group. And so, yes, we definitely need to get Larry and Rick together to work together.
And I do think a member of the Tuesday work group, and I apologize, I don't know first names,
Larry.
attended the last meeting
Yeah.
and was giving some helpful advice. So
Right.
more on.
So good collaboration between those two. I want to offer an opportunity for the equestrian work group to help the Tuesday work group. And that is, and actually this, I'd like to make this announcement for everybody in the community. They're having a divot party on April 13th. And all you got to do is show up at 8:00 a.m. at the golf course. And it's an opportunity if you haven't golfed or if you want to go just walk a few holes, they'll give you a bucket of sand and you can go every time you see a little divot, you can fill it in, but it helps improve the golf course playability. There's some seed in there and helps them do it. But it also gives you, as you walk through the holes, it really gives you a greater appreciation for what a great amenity we have. So all members are invited to participate Tuesday, April 13th at 8:00 at the country club. Continuing on, I'm also the liaison for all the golf clubs. It's tournament time. I want to congratulate the junior women's club. They just had their tournament not this past weekend, the weekend before, and had a record turnout. They did a tremendous job. They always do a great job on all of their activities and events, and we thank them for that. And again, want to congratulate them. I think they had the most members they've ever had, is what I was told, and did a great job. It's also tournament time at the golf course. There are lots of upcoming tournaments. The Canyon Lake Association of Men have their tournament coming up. There's a member guest tournament for the golf clubs. There's kind of over the next couple of months, April and May are the real prime time for golf tournaments. So if you're not a golfer, you'd like to get out and hit the course and the links, contact the golf course pro shop or a member of the clubs as well. In addition, I'm on the senior working group. Pulling up their notes real quick. Yesterday was Supervisor Spiegel, the Riverside County Supervisor. She also is a champion for seniors in Riverside County. And so she scheduled a donuts and dialogue event at the country club, or at the senior center rather, yesterday. And we had nice turnout, about 13 people that showed up. Unfortunately, the only one who didn't show up was Karen Spiegel because she was on jury duty. But she did zoom in from us, so everyone has to do jury duty. She did zoom in and she had representatives there, and it was a nice dialogue where they can tell us, again, for seniors, particularly in the community, they gave, and people who are caregivers of senior in the community, may have aging parents. They had a lot of information available that you can get through the County of Riverside. And again, information is available. If you're interested, contact the POA and we can get you connected with that group. I also want to give a shout out to the Women's Club. The Women's Club is donating $1,000 in merchandise and equipment to the Senior Center. The Senior Center is used for a lot of people, not only for quilters, but for games. There's bingo, there's cards, hand and foot they play Mexican Train, all kinds of things like that. But it's also used by many of our clubs. The Women's Club hosts some of their meetings there. The Mermaids do. The Young Old People's Club does as well. They're donating $1,000 back to the Senior Center of merchandise to help them. And so on. Again, wherever our clubs are doing major activities like that, I want to commend them and thank them for their efforts. And then the last one is we all participate in working with the one of our hardest working groups, the Architectural Control Committee. I had the pleasure of doing it twice in the last month, and they, again, they meet twice a week. They're there for hours on end, and we thank them for all the effort they do to help work with homeowners to make the improvements to their houses. Jeff?
I think you all about covered everything. I'm the liaison for the Facilities Planning Committee. It has gone into ad hoc status. However, we do have some projects coming up. So we're going to be setting up some meetings to review some of these projects. We had put some things on hold due to budget constraints and getting our finances back in order. So we will be looking at a few things that we're working on jointly with the Rec Committee. The Security Advisory Committee is working hard on different means and methods of enforcement on the e-bikes. The rules here, as we all heard tonight already, stop sign enforcement. So a lot of that was already covered, so I'm not going to be too long-winded about it. But I will, and it might be too early for this because we do a follow-up conversation, but we are going to have an opening coming up on the Security Committee. So if anyone's interested in that, get in your application. That's really about all I have. You guys covered a lot.
I'm a liaison for the Finance Committee and the Lake Advocacy Committee. For the Finance Committee, we finished our budget cycle. I think, there was a lot of transparency, a lot of work done in a short period of time. Right now, the staff is focusing on closing out the fiscal year. That's still a lot of work, but we're already looking forward to what comes next. A lot of questions came up about the dashboard that we published, the one-page financial dashboard. I've been talking to staff about creating a 1.5 to 2 minute video that gives people kind of an easy way to understand what's in that dashboard, so it's a little easier to consume. So I'll be coordinating with the staff to put that together. One of the things I think we're already doing, we kind of learned this during the budget planning cycle for the next fiscal year. We want to understand the lodge revenue streams and cost streams a little bit better, so we're starting to work on teasing those apart. Right now, everyone talks about the lodge as one big bucket. It's actually several different buckets with several different ecosystems and operating parameters. That'll be something we'll be working on next fiscal year. For the Lake Advocacy Committee, we're getting a really good flow of data now from our consultants and from staff. They're starting to get their arms around the data, what data is important. They're starting to bring some opinions and ideas to the table. The last LAC meeting, Steve brought into the committee some ideas that they're considering, and that's exciting. Some of these things take time. I've heard comments like water's simple. I can tell you, water is not simple. It really isn't. Lake water, drinking water, all that whole environment has a lot of moving pieces to it. On a funner note, the LAC is partnering with the Lions Club, so we'll be seeing some content and some glam, I guess we would call it, coming out of Fiesta Day. So that's on the agenda.
And we're if you're wondering that Eric is not here tonight, wonder why Eric and Kelly are in Utah tonight. He was on Zoom with us all day today, but Steve is here to give the general manager report.
Hello again, everybody. I'm filling in for Eric tonight while he's off this week. So I'm going to be doing his manager's department reports. Start off with community services. Community services, the recreation department within there has been working very hard on your Fiesta, your 2026 Fiesta Day, which is May 23rd, if you guys don't know. And Country Fest, which is May 24th. They've also been working with Community Patrol and operations to set that up, and they've been doing very well and coordinating with all the vendors and also our event coordinator. They also have been putting, or they're going to be putting boat registration letters out. They're going out mid-April, just in case you wonder why you haven't received those yet. Payments will start April 27th, and those will go on through June 1st. You have a grace period of May for your decal. So don't panic that you have to get in there right before May 1st. You can get in there maybe the week after, but make sure you get in there before June 1st and get your decal on your boat before June 1st. On the operations side, I just also want to remind everybody with that, the new fiscal year does start May 1st. So if you like to pay your annual dues, get in there and pay them by May 1st. Black Horse and Sorel gates are in design. I actually met with the design team yesterday at the gates and actually got a rough draft of some layouts today. Paving project year 4 is in design. It should be wrapping up by the end of this month for the POA to review. If you have questions, what year your street is going to be repaved, I suggest visiting our website where you can view the map and what year those streets are in. And as Laney mentioned earlier, we're doing some work we did some work last month over at the Question Center with their new footing. Every year, operations replaces all the DG in the stalls every spring, and that operation started this week. Next department report is planning compliance. They're very busy over there. Last month they did over 1,900 tasks, which includes monitoring open permits, violations, escrow inspections. And speaking of planning compliance, it's springtime, as you know, the weeds come out. So get out there and do all the weeding on your property and get prepared for summer and avoid getting a letter from planning compliance. And with that, I'm wrapping up. Ken and Zach came up and did their community report, but I suggest looking in the agenda and reviewing the report for anything you might have missed or any more detail, because the report is a lot more detailed than what was presented. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to board closing comments. And Bill, we'll start with you.
I got a couple comments tonight. That I share Laney's passion for e-bikes and what are we going to do about it? And there's been several articles over the last few months. Huntington Beach actually is turning out to be a stellar example for cities about how to start dealing with the problem. In fact, other cities, Fontana, some other cities are looking to Huntington Beach for some of the early steps they've taken. I think the lesson from that is we're going to have to partner with the Canyon Lake Police Department, right? The POA itself, we're not a police force. We can't enforce certain things. We can't, I think it's 28 miles an hour. We're not allowed to go over. So it's going to have to be a partnership with the Canyon Lake Police Department. And I'm very excited to see that it'll be forming soon. Around the cemetery, Riverside Planning Commission, you would expect thought leaders like Laney's presentation, Jeff's presentation was excellent. Jeremy's presentation was excellent. Mark Terry did a great job. You would expect people like that to do well. What I noticed is there were Meadowbrook, and Canyon Lake residents who came up with a bunch of data, a bunch of facts. This is how much concrete, this is how much outside dirt you have to bring in. And I was impressed that these residents came to the table and delivered real impactful statements. Very proud of our communities. Thank you.
Well, I don't really have a lot to say. I think we've all kind of been covering a lot of the same stuff. However, one thing I want to point out is we aren't always staring at Facebook. If you ask my wife, it seems like I am, but I'm really not. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to the board. Just board@canyonlakepoa.com. Putting something on Facebook, we might not see it for a week or two, or if someone tags us, we might. But I would encourage anyone who has questions, comments, whatever they want to address, reach out to us through email, reach out to us directly. If you are looking for more information, such as e-bikes or any of the other things that we've talked about tonight, you can go to the website, find the information. If you don't find it there, email us. It's not that hard. Other than that, there's really not a lot to say. I think everybody's kind of covered a lot of the same ground this month. And I just want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you all for your support. I also want to mention Ron Wilbur. A few people said I led this on the cemetery thing. Ron is the one who has been the glue that's holding our meetings together with our individual coalition. He has been putting together the agendas, organizing everything, shooting out the emails. He's been doing a lot more. And honestly, I feel guilty when people mention my name because Ron's been picking up the slack when I get too busy. And that's actually become, he just takes care of it now. So I just wanted to point out that I really appreciate what Ron's been doing. And that's all I have.
I want to circle back on the e-bikes. I want to be very clear about this. Part of the effort is to be sure that, being a parent, like it's great to let your child, go to a friend's house that's further across the lake. Then you can we live in a hilly community. Believe me, I bike this community, right? So I get it. And I support that. And it's because we support the folks that are adherent to the rules and are abiding by safety. It is the reason that we're going to go the extra distance to help ensure that those folks don't lose the privileges and rights and the ability to ride the e-bikes because of a group of individuals who, there's lots of terminology, but it comes close to gang mentality when you block roads and block walkways and just basically defy all of the rules. So I want to be clear that there's a distinction, and our work is to help ensure that those folks that are enjoying them to the, to how they are intended to be used, get to continue to have that use, and we're able to effectively and decisively deal with the folks that are not. Thank you.
Mr. President, I have no comments tonight, but thank you for asking.
Well, welcome back, Greg. We're really glad you're back. Even though your sun is setting over the next month, we'll
son.
not, well, he's going off the board after. No, not, yeah. Your assignment, yes. But we'll have more to say about you next month. I just have a couple things. First of all, we've gotten a lot of, again, always appreciate the comments, the letters we get. Letters to the board, as Jeff said, best way to get a hold of us. It's the way you can communicate with all 5 directors at once, board@canyonlakepoa.com. And so we appreciate the letters, even though sometimes it's tough love, maybe things we don't want to hear. We appreciate hearing from you. A lot of comments have been coming about, tell me what's going on with the lake, with the water quality and so on and so forth. And we've got some memos. We had a big discussion today. We'll be communicating to boat owners about that. But fundamental questions, what about the lake? There is a webpage on Canyon Lake POA webpage that talks about lake conditions. And we do sample it every 2 weeks, the water quality. For the last few weeks, the water testing in the main lake shows no detection of golden algae in either location sampled. On the East Bay, it shows we still have levels of golden algae. They're not at the levels they were when we were having the major fish kill. They are still present. They were around they were between 10,000 or 13,000 cells per milliliter, or whatever the technical term is. They're down to about 7,000 now. We think maybe that some of that had to do with the warm weather we had in March, which is a possibility. And we're also looking into other measures that we can put in place. There's some new technologies that have been brought to our attention that we're looking at that maybe that use technical and possibly plants and so forth to be able to further remediate that and possibly alleviate future treatments altogether. So we've got some pilots coming up. We'll tell you more about it when we have that. But the bottom line is, in the main lake, no detection of golden algae. In the East Bay, we still have some, but we're working on ways to reduce that. Another topic when I was talking before, again, topic of cemeteries of interest to everyone. There is a community meeting at the senior center on the cemetery on the 23rd, April 23rd, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Any member who wants to hear about it, wants to learn about it, come to the senior center, April 23rd, 6 o'clock, and ask any questions. We've got representatives that'll be there to fill you in. Other than that, we're coming up on the best time of the year to be in Canyon Lake, right? We're entering spring, getting boats ready. We've got Blessing of the Boats coming up with the Yacht Club here on May 2nd, is it? And everyone's wants to get their boats ready, get in the water. And it's why we live here. We've got all the events coming up in May, Fiesta Days, Country Fest, and great weather. And then not too long beyond that, July 4th, and this being wait, I forgot the term, the 250th anniversary. I didn't remember the long word that goes with it, but the super centenary of the U.S. Birthday. And so we will have a special celebration for that as well. So looking forward to it. If you have any questions, again, any comments, feedback, always appreciate hearing from you by email. Other than that, are there any motions to adjourn?
Second.
Not all at once. Okay, first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Quick questions.